This is Bits and Bobs with Kits and Bits and your host Lynette Delane.
I would like to welcome today's guest, Nicolette Smith from the End of Life Care, and we're going to be talking about all things technology and death, which is an unusual pairing of topics, but something that we both have had a lot of experience in lately, and something that Nicolette teaches people in how to deal with. So, Nicolette, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your business?
Thanks, Lynette. It's great to be here. So I'm what's called an end-of-life doula, and doula means a person who serves or somebody who's like of support. So I'm a non-medical support person for people who just had a diagnosis of some sort of illness or, going through right till the person is dying. So I support the carers and the person who's in that process, and I provide information and practical support and emotional support. So it's a new role, but a very important one, and it doesn't replace all the fabulous services that are already there, palliative care nurses and silver chain and things, but we complement that service in lots of ways and provide continued care. I guess that's the niche, is that we are there from the beginning till the end. So
you support in a lot of other things other than just the care. You help people plan their funerals and
so we do all the planning and just looking at the emotional and helping people have conversations and looking at their legacy. There might be things that they want to say to their family members or leave their family members. They might want to write a note or make a video. So we broaden out a lot of what the other services do. So
such an incredible service. And so Nicolette and I met probably a little bit late for me. So for those of you that don't know, my mum passed away in March 2016, and I met Nicolette just before, I think, that. So I didn't really know her well enough to even think about these services. But now that I know her well enough, I would have hired her in a heartbeat, because it's a really tough time. So my mum, she went into hospital, not expected, we weren't expecting her to be sick. She went into hospital, and 5 weeks later she was gone. And so it was a pretty intense time. We had a week and a half in palliative care, and the rest of it sort of in the hospital, hoping that things were going to get better. But that whole process is a really, can be a really difficult process. And we were really lucky in that Mum had already done a lot of planning, had a lot of conversations, and certainly
she was good, wasn't she?
And didn't leave many regrets on the ground. But for a lot of people, that's not the case. So, so Nicolette and I are going to talk about that death process, but how technology can either help or hinder in that respect. And then in another conversation, we're going to talk about your digital afterlife and how this digital world that we now live in completely changes all of the stuff that has to happen before and after death. So
it does. It's made it a bigger job than what it's previously been. So a lot of people don't realise, unfortunately, that that's what we have to think about now.
No. So in talking about technology and the dying process, I suppose, and the things that people can use it for, what are some tips that what are some things that you've heard of technology being used for around that space when people are either when they've been diagnosed or, trying to find things out about their disease or trying to communicate with family members?
Well, I guess, the positive thing now is we have access to information so easily. So, we can always do Google Doctor and, get an online description of what's going on, but there's so much more information online. So people can read up more and have access to information about their particular disease or illness. I think too, there's more online support, with Facebook, there's a lot more support groups that people can tap into, where they can swap information and talk to each other about symptoms and what works and what doesn't work. Going more, so that's sort of the illness side of things, I guess, as carers. If you're isolated at home as a carer caring for somebody, then again, that online support can be there. It's a way that they can easily get information and tap into the outside world, whereas before perhaps they would have been a lot more isolated. And then with the dying, I guess, once somebody's in more of a palliative care situation or a chronic situation in hospital, then that technology, again, it's been able to communicate easily, with our telephone coverage now, and email and Facebook and online, even Skyping and all those sorts of technologies are great that people can connect easier. People don't have to fly in from other countries to speak to their loved ones. They can stay in touch with what's going on a little bit easier because we've got all that technology available to us. And even, when you think about legacy, you can easily now on your phone take a recording, do a video. So for people to be able to record stories and conversations, we've got that in our hand. We've got that, even taking photos, we've got it there. It's easier to record those memories and those times and get snapshots and people and for them to be able to share things as they remember them it's much easier than it used to be, so the legacy world, another doula that I work with, that's what she wants to do, is capture people's stories.
Fantastic.
Through videos. So we've got all that available to us, and that's then easier when comes the funeral. It's you can pull all the photos together a lot easier with PowerPoint. And so we're pretty lucky in lots of ways. It's made it a lot easier. That it can create other issues, I guess, when you think about Facebook and information being shared a little bit too early, or information that you might not want to have shared can be out there in the world. So I don't know, you've talked a little bit about your experiences around that.
Thanks for joining me for Bits and Bobs, an interview series for new business owners looking to avoid the pitfalls that we who have gone before have either already fallen into and climbed out of, or managed to skip over altogether. Please subscribe and watch other episodes where I, along with other business owners, dive into some less talked about and sometimes tough subjects, highlighting some of those I wish I had known topics so that you can get your business going faster and easier. You can find my guest details in the show notes or on my website, kitsandbits.com.au.